are working an interview with Vanessa again. Vanessa, it's absolutely lovely to help you. Thank you for coming on and talking to us here.
Thank you so much for having me as well. I really appreciate it.
We're just going to go run through, quickly introduction and housekeeping and all that. All right, so we're having so it's just a fireside chat today with the Working It podcast founder, Vanessa here. And so just as a quick wee introduction to Corgi. So we are a meetup group designed for undergraduate women in tech, and we provide events, so social events and also sort of career-based technical events, kind of like this one today. And we are based in Belfast, but we've got our community reaching out to all over Northern Ireland and a few events, so we even reach further than that. And our purpose was to create a digital and physical space for women to support one another in the early stages of their tech careers, and also to host these events to give other undergraduate women the best chance of success in the early stages of their careers. And also to showcase local women in the industry, which we do a lot with our Monday motivators. So every Monday, our intention is to post just a wee snippet about, a woman who's just doing great in our industry, And we've made a decision early on that everyone is welcome. So I think it's important that men are involved from this wee quote here. Once men are involved and realize the influence their support can have in promoting the role of women in technology, substantial change will occur. And it's just our wee social media and email here if anyone wants to contact us or join our Discord there. Our agenda for today is just, so we've done welcome and introductions, which we're just going to do now. Then we're going to get on to our chatting at the end. If anyone wants to, you can have a bit of Q&A and ask Vanessa any questions, if you need. So general housekeeping for this, please keep mics muted in the main webinar and ask questions via the chat. And just please be respectful to everyone. Thank you very much. So get on to it. So I'm going to introduce Vanessa here. So she's a music graduate from Queen's and currently a digital executive as well. She has been doing Working It for the past year. And she hosts the social media channels, coordinates events, podcasts, and it's from all across the UK. And her ultimate aim is to help students find the career path that is right for them. So I can just come off this and we'll get started with the Q&A. How do I actually come off this? I like it, man. There we go. All right, so Vanessa, you started Working It around about a year ago, yeah?
Yeah, I started it because I was furloughed in March, and then I was just so bored in the house. I need to keep going all the time. I have like a lot of energy, and I always wanted to start a podcast, and I thought, what is the better time to do it when we're sitting in the house doing nothing?
Hi, so do you want to tell us a wee bit more about Working It? What kind of made you decide to make it more a career-based podcast?
Yes, of course. So I have always been so passionate about careers. Like, I always had such a passion for music, and see, growing up, I was like, I'm going to be a music teacher. It was all I wanted to do. And in school, like for my A levels, I studied history, politics, and music. But all like my favorite part of my week was going to my music lesson and like going to music class. And then after I left, I went to McGee, but McGee was more poppy and like kind of like rock music, where I was very classically trained. So that's then when I transferred to Queen's, and I just didn't really enjoy the course at all. It just wasn't what I expected it to be. And whenever I was there, I started to really question what I wanted to do after the degree. And I kind of said to myself, wait and see, in third year might get a bit better. And in the third year, I did a work placement module, and I went to a secondary school, and I absolutely hated it so much. It was a lot of pressure, and you needed a lot of confidence. And see, standing up in front of so many children, I just thought I can't do this as a career. And then I started to really panic. And I took the initiative to volunteer, and that's how I learned about marketing. I volunteered with a local theatre, and I ended up actually getting a marketing internship with a theatre. And I always thought, because I didn't do business for an A level, I didn't do it for a GCSE, marketing wasn't a career that I could ever have. But that was so not true. When you change your career, just because you don't have a degree in it doesn't mean you can't do it. There are so many courses online. I did a CIM level 4, which was with the Chartered Institute of Marketing, which basically got me a qualification so I could apply for jobs. And there were so many free courses with Google and with another place called the E-Marketing Institute as well. And I learned so much, and I ended up actually loving marketing and loving this career. And that kind of made me think, there's so many people who are like me and who are studying a career or like studying a job, and they don't want a career with this and are just pursuing this career because they think, they've done their 3 or 4 years in uni. It's a lot of money. What's the point in transferring? And that's why I thought I'm going to start a podcast. And each week, some people have really conventional careers where they're like doctors, they study medicine and go have a job like as a doctor or a GP, or there's people like me who have a very different path, and it's good to show people these paths that are available to them. And I also think it helps people to feel like they're not alone when they do change their mind or they are starting to question their career as well.
Absolutely. I think there is this terrible pressure to somehow, when you're 16, magically know what you want to do for the rest of your life. And it is absolutely terrifying. And I remember sitting doing my UCAS and saying, I want to do blank, 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 because I was writing the whole UCAS statement without the degree because I hadn't picked it yet, which just shows you how bizarre it all is. And it is just so amazing to see someone that has gone down that path but hasn't let that mindset get you stuck, and you've been able to kind of overcome that and go, this is my life, I can do what I like, I'm only in my early 20s, I have my whole life ahead of me, which I think we can forget as well and feel quite stuck.
Absolutely, because see, within my education, and I went to an all-girls school and it was very focused on STEM, and I felt that as a music student I wasn't really focused on. I felt like my choice to go and do a career in music wasn't really valued, like they didn't really recognize it, if that makes sense. And I felt like the careers teachers never really took a lot of time with me and to sit down, and I always feel that this is another thing as well why I think working it is doing a good thing and bringing on people each week, because like see with the career teacher, it's someone who taught biology was telling me all these things about a music career and all the things I can and can't do. But I was like, but you don't play an instrument. You don't know anything about this career. Why are you telling me what I can and can't do when you don't know anything about it? Do you know what I mean?
Amen.
And that's why I think it's important to hear from the people. Like, exactly. And it's so important to hear from the people.
Oh, is Vanessa frozen for other people, or is it just me?
She's frozen for me too. Oh no.
Cool. We'll give her a wee sec.
Yeah.
Who work in climate.
Oh, she's away. Hopefully she'll just pop back in.
Hopefully. God, there's nothing worse than technical issues with your laptop.
I know, and you know what? It's something that I have just, over this past year, don't stress about anymore. Because it's something that no matter how much you plan, you have zero control over. And that's something I'm not usually okay with. So I have just learned that these things happen and everybody's very understanding of it. Like whenever I had an interview the other day, they said to me, if we have really bad technical difficulties to the point that you can't continue the interview, you won't be penalised in any shape or form, and we will reschedule. So although that would just be the worst thing ever, I was like, oh my God, no, please. May the interview gods be looking down on me, because I don't want to have to do this later. I just want to get it done now, please. I don't want to postpone.
Gosh.
That's Vanessa just saying she's popping back in now.
I don't know.
I have a pile of wedges sitting beside me, and I'm just like, oh, I want to eat you.
You're right. Oh, you're muted.
You seem to be in as a guest rather than yourself. Oh, are you unmuted?
Yes, so sorry about that.
Nice. No problem at all. We were just saying that through this whole experience of Corona and everything being remote, like, everyone has technical problems, you've no control, and you just gotta not stress about them. There's nothing we can do.
It'll work out.
Hang on, you're a wee bit faint, Vanessa. Is there a way for you to turn up your mic a wee bit?
Okay, what about now?
It's a bit better, but it's still a wee bit on the faint side. Completely gone.
What about now?
That's you.
Perfect.
Alright, guys.
Don't be silly. It could happen to absolutely any of us.
Right. So
Yeah, that's
I get back to it. So you were saying, like, your biology teacher was giving you career advice. Do you think there's a way, like, do you think there's enough career support for students both in, like, school and university, and do you think there's any ways it could be improved?
Absolutely not. It's very different. It's very different now to when I think I'm out of school. I think maybe 6 years now, and from people who I've spoken to, it seems to be a bit better, but it's still not. Like, the thing that kind of bugged me about my school was it was a biology teacher who never taught me, didn't know me, and she was telling me I was going to get C's and D's in my A levels, and that I wasn't going to get to uni. And I thought, I was so gutted. I went home, I was devastated. And my mommy was like, look, do you know what? Whatever happens, it'll work out. But also, this person doesn't know you. Kind of show them, like, what you're made of. And that's kind of the way I thought. I was like, you know what? You don't know me. And I ended up getting my levels and going to university. And what I kind of experienced was, it wasn't just with me, it was with a lot of people. Teachers seem to, I think they don't realise how what they're saying can affect the confidence of a student going to do their A levels and going to university as well. And I think they need to be more supportive and say, maybe, for example, you didn't do great in that, but this is what you can do to do better, instead of automatically cutting them down and saying, no, you shouldn't study this because you're going to get C's and D's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think as well, like, with university, I thought, again, the careers guidance wasn't great. I came out of the degree knowing kind of the careers that were there for me as a musician, but also not at the same time. Like, I always feel like with education, it goes from A to C, but it forgets about the B section, whereas how do you actually get there? What do you have to do to get the jobs? And that's the most important part that people need to hear.
Yeah.
And it's through this. When people are hearing about people saying, I changed my mind, I did an internship, or do you know what, like, I didn't even go to university, I went to tech and I worked my way up. People need to hear these options and see that they're actually available for them.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think a big problem with our teachers is they get so set in their wee ways. And my experience was certainly a lot of teachers that have been at my school a very long time hadn't had any experience or any, like, view on what the industry was really like in their area anymore. And they'd seen so many students come through that they'd lost their passion, and they kind of forgot, exactly as you said, Vanessa, that like you're a human being, and you know what they say can really affect you, you know, especially if they're a teacher that, you know, you see as someone to look up to, or as, you know, very knowledgeable in that field, and you're going, gosh, well, if they think and it can really, really have an impact. And that has been my experience in uni as well. You know, they've taught us nothing about interview skills, or particularly in the technical field that I'm in, you know, interview skills is a huge thing, and it's very different to the job itself. Absolutely nothing about it. It's just kind of, here's some theory, off you go, figure it out.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think they forget to tell you the important things of how to actually you get the job. It's always the theory and what to do in the job, but you have to get the job to be able to implement what you're learning, and that's the most important part. That should be the first thing you learn.
Right. Well, definitely. So in that sort of process, like applying for jobs, like were you able to get a job straight out of uni, or did it take a wee bit of time? And was it obvious going into digital marketing, or was there a bit of sort of zigzag across, like, oh, I might do this, might do this?
Well, leaving university, I applied for an arts management masters, and see, to be honest, I didn't even know what the masters was. I kind of had a fair idea, but at the same time I panicked, and I just thought, I'm going to apply for this because I don't want to be a teacher and I don't know what else to do. And I kind of took the initiative, and I emailed loads of people. One of them was the Millennium Forum Theatre in Derry, and I just wanted to get experience before going into the Masters to see if it was right for me. And when I was at the Millennium Forum, I was with the marketing team, and they were so supportive, and they gave me so much insight into what it would be like to work in digital marketing. And I really, really wanted like an internship there. But unfortunately, it was already given to someone else, and I was so gutted. But a couple of weeks later, I think it was like the week before I was about to start my master's, they rang me and said, look, it didn't work out. Do you want the internship? And I thought, absolutely. I was like, this is meant to be. Oh, absolutely. I was so delighted. And the people on the marketing team and the Millennium Forum, they were so unbelievably supportive with me. They literally any course that I could have done, they fired it my way. Anything they could have done to help me with my interviews, like they took me over to Primark across the street and got my interview outfit for me. They were so good, and it was such a nice environment to work in, and to to kind of learn and develop. And I think they really helped me a lot with going forward. I think I was in that job about, I think it must have been about 8 or 9 months, and I knew that like I wanted to go back to Belfast, so I started applying for everything. And I think I must have had about 10 interviews until I got my first proper official marketing job. I had some absolutely awful interviews, say going in and having because I didn't know that within interviews they could ask you questions like, what was your favorite marketing TV ad, or like what and one of the questions I really struggle with is, where do you see yourself in like 10 years time? I hate that interview question so much.
I got that one last week.
I hate it so much. And like the first couple of ones I went to, they were diabolical because I really didn't know what I was doing. It was just so new to me. And the more I did, the more I got more confident. And then it was all the experience that took me towards getting my job then. So it definitely was completely zigzagged and getting there, but I got there eventually.
So about your interview experiences, you said you did a lot there. What do you think would have been like sort of the strangest or most interesting interview you think you've had?
Oh my God, like the worst interview to date that makes me cringe like forever will be see, like whenever this isn't related to the marketing one, but this is whenever I left school before I actually went to university. It was like I always had like interviews for like retail, but never like a really professional one. And this kind of helped me going forward, because for some reason when I was nervous I kept touching my nose, and like I was sitting there like this, like touching my nose, like chatting to the interview panel the whole time, and I didn't realise like for like 10 minutes I was chatting to them like this, and I thought no wonder you didn't get in. They probably thought, what is she doing? But that experience helped me going forward, because it made me sit and think, don't touch your nose, don't like keep your hands like in your legs. So that helped me going forward. But I think what really helped me as well was, see, after the first couple of ones I had, I just was so deflated. I was like, I'm not going to get a job. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, no one's going to take me on, because I had such a mental barrier in my head that because I didn't have a marketing degree, I wasn't going to go forward with a position. And I was in the car with my partner, and he put on Eye of the Tiger, and it pumped me up. And that was the best interview I ever did. I went in, I was so confident. I answered every question. I like, even like the questions I didn't know the answers to, I was just so confident. And going forward now, every time I have an interview and I feel nervous, I blast that song for like 5 minutes straight before I go on for an interview, and it helps. And that's what I say to my friends, or to like a lot of people who are nervous. I'm like, get a playlist on, get your songs going, and get yourself pumped up. And what I always say to myself too is, you know, the reason why they are putting the job out is because they need you as much as you need them. So be super confident going in and saying, I would be such an asset to your team. You need me for this job. You know, just to kind of get yourself confident and show off your skills and how amazing you would be at this position as well.
I think one of the best interview lessons I've learned that has honestly just made interviews a million times easier for me has been that it's okay to take pauses to think. Because I am one of these people that fills silence, and I can talk for days. And whenever I started doing interviews, I would find myself just blurting out something, anything, because they've said something, and I just can't have that pause. But I've now learned that it's okay to take a solid 10-second pause. Like, I did an interview last week, and every single question was, tell me a time in your life when, and it'll be something really specific, and I'm like, oh my gosh, which one? And I would take a 10-second pause, properly, like, sitting here and be like, and really give myself the time to pick the best one. And then from there, you know that you're giving your best quality answer, and it's knowing that they are totally okay with you taking that break. And it actually shows confidence, I think, and like a comfortability that you're okay to take that. And I think, honestly, that has made the quality of my interviews go from here to here. Just giving myself that break to think.
Absolutely. And see as well, see if you want to ask them to repeat the question, that is totally fine too, because sometimes like when you're nervous, you might not, like you're fully there in concentration, but you're like saying to yourself, oh, like don't like touch your nose, or don't touch your hair, or do whatever to make yourself seem nervous. And sometimes you might miss the end of the question. So if you feel like you've missed it, even if you have to ask them 3 times, just ask, sorry, can you explain it better, or can you say that again? Because it's better to know like what you're actually answering instead of giving it a go and not answering the question correctly.
Right.
Absolutely.
And would you say that whenever, like, at the end of an interview and things haven't gone so well, what would you tell yourself sort of for next time, sort of motivating?
My favourite saying is, what's for you won't go by you. If it wasn't meant to be, then that's fine. Something better is coming. And whenever I first started, I literally would be in tears, like with my mommy, thinking, what is wrong with me? Why am I not getting these jobs? But you know what? It just wasn't meant to be. You weren't the right fit for them, and they weren't the right fit for you. And it's so important to not lose confidence in the interview process. It's so easy to put yourself down and think, I'm not good at my job, or I'm not good enough. But it's just because the right job hasn't come along yet. So I think like perseverance. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
It's really important to be resilient. I can't say that word.
Vanessa, I'm just in love with everything you're saying. Like, I just want you when I'm having a bad day. I want you like a little mini version of you on my shoulder as my hype woman.
My friends literally call me their hype woman all the time. It is so funny. See, like whenever anyone's having a bad day, they message me, I send them through a voice message and I be like, you totally got this. Like, be confident.
Yes.
So speaking of sort of like motivation, like you do a lot of motivation and a lot of interviews in your podcast. Did you take inspiration from any other sort of podcasts or any other sort of content whenever you were creating and working it?
No, see, before working it, I didn't listen to podcasts. Like, I would have listened to the Blind Boy podcast like once in the blue moon, but I wouldn't have like actually sat down and listened to them weekly. And it really was just kind of starting on a blank slate. Really, I didn't know what I was doing, and like I was lucky that I did have good experience in like designing content, like setting up like social media posts and stuff like that. I knew what I was doing in that sense. But like, see, when I first started like the podcast, some of the recordings aren't great. And going back, I would have re-recorded myself like 3 times. Like, and I had to order a mic and make sure that everything was, really sounding really good quality. I didn't understand the amount of work that had to go in, because I would have kind of fired it out if the audio might, like not sounding good. But it's really important with the podcast that, the listeners like understand what you're talking about, and it is, and like a good as experience for them as it is for like as if they're actually there in the room watching the conversation.
Did you get any unexpected sort of setbacks whenever you're first trying to set up, like other than mic issues and things like that?
I think my biggest setback was I never like I would be quite a shy person. I wouldn't be really overly confident, especially on like social media and things like that. And I think my biggest setback was me personally, worrying about what other people were going to think, and what people were going to like. Were people actually going to listen? Were people actually going to, want to come on? And when I first put it out, I got really good response, and the more I put out and the more posts I put out, I've had people message me saying it's really helped them, or they've listened to something that's inspired them, and that makes me feel really good. So it kind of makes the setback, thinking be confident, don't worry about it. That's what I would really say to anyone as well who did want to start a blog or who did want to even start their own podcast, is just go for it and don't care about what other people are saying, because I think we all do care about what other people think of us a bit too much sometimes.
Especially in the place of social media and things like that, because you're always just afraid and was like, oh, is this going to be, have I said the wrong thing, have I said the wrong thing, but sometimes you just need to go for it.
Exactly.
Sort of relating to sort of how you were setting up and everything, so you were saying, so the path to music isn't exactly where you ended up, but has anything from your degree course kind of helped you in your experience with working it or in your job?
I think it would probably be like the creativity side of it, I suppose. With music, you can do like competitions sometimes, and like when you're playing an instrument, it's always like putting your own mark on it and being like individual. And I would use that creativity in, creating content. And I suppose like when I was younger as well, there's this thing in Derry called the Derry Fish, and it's like a week long, full of competitions that happens every Easter. And I would have, like, my whole Easter week would have been chock-a-block with like violin competitions, drama and singing. And I suppose like when you're doing a podcast, sometimes it's like performing, putting yourself out there and being like a host. So I think in the sense of standing up and playing the instrument, it helps me with performing on the podcast as well.
Well, that's a really interesting way to look at it, like in the form of like performing. It's like I would be someone who have a bit of like stage fright, but I don't know, sometimes when you need to go up and you know you need to present in front of like an audience almost, you just kind of need to put yourself out there. So what would you say would be a way sort of that would give you confidence in front of an audience or in front of even like an interview panel?
I would just say be yourself, because even though I'm saying like you're performing, I'm still totally being myself. It's not about, being someone different, or like, say for example, when you're a drama student, you take on the role of someone else. It's I think, especially with job interviews, they really I sometimes think that employers like a personality more than experience.
Mm.
I like 100% experience and like qualifications do come into it, but employers want someone who they get on with and who they like and who they think would be a really good member of their team to get the job. So just be yourself. Like, I think that's the biggest advice I would give to anyone going forward as well.
Yeah, I can absolutely confirm that, definitely from the company that I work for at the minute. They said it whenever I joined, and I've now done interviews since and been on the other side of the table, and I know that primarily what they look for is friendly people with strong communication skills, strong teamwork skills, with a passion for tech, because that's the industry. So they want people that are driven and passionate and that are just going to be lovely people to work with, and that they are confident that they can teach you what they need to teach you, but there are qualities and soft skills that you sometimes have or don't have, and that's what they really want to see. So I can absolutely corroborate that. And as you said, Vanessa, it's not always for you. So maybe, if they don't think you're the right fit, you wouldn't have been a good fit. And if you had gotten it, then you mightn't have been happy because it wasn't the company for you.
Exactly. Like, I am such a firm believer that what will be, and like, I think there's so many people who do put themselves down and do think, it wasn't good enough, or like they didn't like me, but it's not the case at all.
Yeah.
100%. So you've interviewed like a large amount of people for your podcast, Vanessa. Was there any that like sort of stuck out to you, or any careers in particular you were like, oh, this is actually way more interesting than I was expecting?
I think one of the ones that would stick out to me is there's a guy, Rory O'Donnell, and he worked quite closely with Jeremy Corbyn in his and going forward with the election, and I thought that was really cool, because I thought, how on earth does someone get to that position? And I think one of the ones that really also stuck out to me was with Kate Conway from Q Radio. She was just such a confident and such a nice person. And what I really liked about her interview was it was all about building yourself up and having confidence. And she has to take so much confidence every day, because she's like on the radio, she's a voiceover actress as well.
Mhm.
And going forward, I always think about the things that she said, and like she said about like getting yourself a good playlist going as well, and just kind of don't think about what other people think about you. And sometimes I actually think about her recording often, and I would think about what she would say and think, okay, I'm going to do what Kate says. But I've taken like a wee bit out of, like, in all my interviews, I've taken a bit of what people say, and I would always like reflect on it and say, oh my god, that's such a good idea, I'm going to do this a bit more, or like, I wish I could be a bit more like them. And I think everyone has their own qualities, and they bring like something to work in it that will help to inspire like students and graduates, I think.
Aye. Well, that's really interesting. Well, there's been so many of them out there as well. But do you think, like, from the people you've interviewed, or even people just you interact with in general, do you think a lot of them have been affected? I never know which one it is.
Affected.
But do you think everyone's sort of been? Well, obviously everyone has been affected by COVID, but how do you think people are coping with it, especially in regards to like applying for jobs, coming out of university, changing careers, that kind of thing?
I think it is affecting everyone in so many different ways. Like, for me, I was made redundant, and I never in a million years would have ever thought I would be made redundant at the age that I am. And that's something new that I had to deal with. It was for example, like with going forward and having such a big disappointment and a big blow and picking yourself up and having to do the whole job process again. It's something that me and hundreds and thousands of people have had to deal with. And then for people who are doing their A-levels, like I don't even know if A-levels are happening this year. And like that's something that they're going to have to, like, is that going to affect them going to university? Like they need to take that into consideration as well. Like it's going to be very difficult. I think coming out of it as well, it's going to be really difficult as well, going forward. I think in the next couple of months it's still going to be affecting us.
Yeah.
I think as well in January, I think a lot of people are feeling really blue and down in the dumps at the moment, and I think everyone's just totally fed up.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think what I've noticed is people are very resilient, and I would always chat to my friends and they would always inspire me to be a bit more resilient, and same with me, like helping them as well. And I think people coming together and sharing how they're feeling and what they've went through will help other people going forward over the next couple of months too, because it is going to be at least till the end of the year till we come out of it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think everything's just so chaotic at the minute, and like I'm looking at the news, I'm looking at Twitter and all the rest, and it feels somehow just so overwhelming sometimes.
It is.
Would you have any methods for just like keeping calm, like any sort of just things you do sort of comfort yourself, like you've had a bad day or you let everything get to you and you're sort of like, I need to take some me time?
Well, see, at the start of the pandemic, I just didn't look at the news. Like my partner and I just decided we weren't going to watch the TV. Didn't put the news on for the whole, like for the past like 7 months or however long it's been. We haven't looked at it in a long time. That has helped. I think as well, keeping in contact with people is so important. Like there, this is probably the longest I have with my friends. Like usually I would see people weekly, where now I'm chatting to them like once. And I think it's so important to just shoot someone a wee message. I don't know how your message can make them make their day so much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think get yourself something that's relaxing. Go for a long walk outside.
Sorry, you were breaking up a wee bit there.
Okay.
I think most of it came through there.
Sorry, I was just saying that. Sorry, I was just saying, just get yourself going for a walk, even if you don't want to do exercise, is really important. Just getting outside and getting fresh air and just chatting to people is really important. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Most of it's cutting out every now and then, but most of it is coming through. So.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
I saw myself pause and I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, I got a Corgi during lockdown, and having him has made me obviously go out, rain or shine, for walks every day. And not the reason I got him, but it has definitely been fantastic that it's just become part of my day now. I have to go out for at least like a 30-45 minute walk in the middle of the day, and I have to set that time aside. It isn't a question of, oh, do I feel like it? I have to go. And that has definitely been a really big help, because I can sit in this chair from, I start work at 8 a.m. and it's now 8:15 and I'm still at my desk. That is a ridiculous amount of time to be sitting at your desk, and I know that a lot of people are in the same boat. So would absolutely agree there that just trying to get outside for as little time as you can, just to get your eyes away from screens, is amazing.
Absolutely. I think yoga as well is really good, especially if you're sitting at a desk all day. Doing a wee bit of yoga and just stretching out your back, stretching out your legs, it's really good too.
Yeah. I've gotten into yoga myself actually the past year. I'm not completely consistent with it, but like every now and then. just to give me something to get me in my chair, like you said.
Yeah, that's all that matters. You know, you're not trying to become a yogi master. As long as it makes you feel better, then and you just do it whenever you need it. That's absolutely perfect.
Exactly, and I think as well during this time we need to say to ourselves that like you were saying, you weren't being consistent. Like some days you just don't feel like doing things, and that's okay. I think it's important that we're not putting a lot of pressure on ourselves right now too, because we have so much going on. We don't want to burn ourselves out completely either.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like sometimes there's just sort of like gnawing feeling to yourselves, like, oh God, I've got all this free time now. I should be doing something. I should be doing this. I should be doing going out. But I feel like a lot of the time, like I don't know about the rest of you, but I end up procrastinating quite a bit. And it's just this kind of overwhelming guilt. Like I know I'm not supposed to be working all the time, but it's just in the back of my head. Well, I've got nothing else to be doing. You know, I should be studying. But I feel like it's this sort of endless cycle. Like I need to be studying, but then I'm freaking out for studying. So then I don't study and I just procrastinate, and then I freak out about studying because I've been procrastinating.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, though, that's not something I even have like personal advice for, because it's definitely, I am not kind to myself. I know I am so unkind to myself in my head, and like I'm so busy all the time, and I still torture myself that I'm never doing enough. And I know it's illogical, but it's definitely my biggest weakness is just not being kind to myself at all. And I think, and regardless of whether, you know, you've procrastinated all day or you've done, you know, loads of stuff, but you still didn't get to the end of your to-do list and you're setting yourself unrealistic goals. I think we've all just got to learn that not every day is the exact same, and some days you're going to get a lot done and some days you're going to get nothing done, and you have to have those down days. And it's definitely something I'm saying and not doing, and I'm trying to mentally train myself to be kinder. Particularly, like, my brain's not giving me any time off mentally, even though there's an entire pandemic going on. My brain's just like, no, but you still need to be achieving excellence in every single thing you do. And you know, time off is for wusses, and it's terrible and it's really unhealthy. But we'll get there one step at a time, just trying to slowly tweak myself so I think a little differently.
So another question for you, Vanessa, was just about, so you talked a lot in your sort of early career and stuff like that, about how you've had people, even back in school, you've had teachers saying, oh, you can't do this if you don't do this. Then later on, people saying, oh, if you've done this, do this. Would you say there's a lot of pressure to do sort of more reliable careers, like you said yourself, teaching? And what advice would you give to sort of overcome naysayers and people trying to like put you in a box almost?
Absolutely. Like I think in school sometimes, like, they want you, I feel like they prepare you for like failure sometimes. I think they tell you to go for a safe option, and they say, look, if you do this, you'll come out and you'll have a job. But sometimes it's not as easy as that. For example, like, there's so many people who are going to be graduating now, and there's so many redundancies with graduate jobs, and nothing ever like prepared anyone for this. Well, like, if you want to change your career path, then do it. It's such a scary thing. As long as you have sat down and you have available for you at the end, then I just think go for it. I think that within our parents' generation and our teacher generation, it was always like kind of going for like a safe option or going for something that would give you a job and get you a house. Where I think now in our generation, people are a lot more career minded than like family minded. I think people are settling down later and like focusing on their careers. And I'm just saying go for it. I think it's like the most important thing to have the confidence in yourself. And whenever I started my marketing career, like, I specifically remember someone saying to me, "You're never going to get a job. Like, I have a degree in junior," and it literally broke me. And I just thought, you know what, like, this person doesn't know me. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna show people that I can do it. And it's literally just having confidence in yourself. I just think it's really important. I think a lot of us do lack confidence. And I think take on advice, but at the end of the day, it's your decision what you want to do. Don't go for the safe option just because you feel like it's safe. Just go for it.
Yeah, definitely. Because even like I've been told, like back in school, oh, if you do a STEM career, if you do like a STEM degree, you'll be guaranteed a job. I'm struggling to get jobs at the everywhere I'm applying to. It's either, especially because I think everything's being impacted by COVID, so it's a lot of like pre-recorded videos and things like that, and you can't really get your best judgment, I think, from a 5-minute recording of yourself.
Absolutely.
So would you say sort of, sorry, my brain went completely blank and I started a question I did not know the answer to. I was actually going to ask you about sort of almost like sort of comfort reading, comfort TV shows, comfort podcasts, or even ones that motivate you to sort of like continue on with your work and be like, here, this is something I want to do. I need to get back to work now.
I have been watching far too much TV. I've actually, like on Saturday, I'm actually having like a no TV day because I'm literally like watching so much at the moment. But I'm absolutely loving Ugly Betty at the moment. I have Disney Star, and like I think sometimes, see, like when I'm editing a podcast or doing a wee bit of work on my website, so you just have like Ugly Betty on in the background. It's such like a comforting show for me, and just having like the background noise. And sometimes if I feel like I can't sleep, like I'm reading an amazing book right now called A Woman Is No Man. I would absolutely recommend it to anyone who is such a reader. And like even like on the bus home, I like have like the Kindle app on my phone. It helps me to like relax. I have my playlists on Spotify. Like even just having like my playlist on the background whenever I'm doing a bit of work too. I think it's good to surround yourself with your comforts and what you like doing. So if you have had a bad day or if you're ready to relax, everything's there waiting for you.
Right. Definitely need comforts just sort of to get through everything that's been going on recently.
And tea.
And tea.
Oh my god, loads and loads of tea.
So much tea, buckets. It's gone.
And make sure like loads of water as well. I think if I don't drink water, my head hurts and I just don't function. So I always make sure I have like a bottle of water. I always find that I like drink water easier out of a bottle than I do a glass.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah,
I've actually a Chili's bottle because I was sitting there like, if it's pretty, I'll be more likely to want to drink out of it.
I think as well, because like you would have spent like 20 or 30 quid on it, you're going to be like, I'm not going to let this go to waste, I'm going to use it.
Aye, definitely. So what would you say sort of as send off to someone who wanted to start a podcast or a blog type thing?
I would say go for it. I think we all have our own passions. We all have stuff that we're interested in, and you can literally make a blog out of anything. Like, for example, if you like to bake, you could start a blog on like, showing people recipes, or for like you guys in STEM, you could start a blog like preparing like university students for like the world of like of what it's like to be like a woman in STEM. Like I think starting working it has had so many benefits for me, as I've built my own website. I never thought in a million years I would have done that. I have networked with so many people, and I've built something for myself that's like my own. And I think that's the best part of it, is like I can say I've done this, or like, yeah, like this is my thing. Something for you to be proud of, and just to put on your CV as well. But I think absolutely go for it, whether it's a blog, whether it's like a vlog, like on YouTube or whatever. Just get yourself out there, network, and earn new skills. I think even if like you don't want to do it long term, it's still something to say you've done. And I think as well, digital marketing is extremely important. I think that being able to use social media, TikTok, Facebook, like Instagram or whatever, it's going to be required in a lot of jobs the further we go on. And I think educating yourself and keeping up with like the different trends, like for example, like Clubhouse is like a new app out at the moment. There's a lot of people on that, and people are networking through that as well. I think just keep yourself up with like keep up to date with the digital trends, because I think it is going to be important for loads of jobs.
Would you have any sort of last tips or advice, or like the best bit of advice even that you've gotten throughout like your career and your school days?
I think for me, what I have learned is networking is so unbelievably important. I didn't know what networking was, and like when I left university, like I knew what it was, obviously, but I didn't know how to do it. Like, see, literally just reach people on LinkedIn. Like, even if you don't know them, message them and start a conversation with them. You don't know where it's going to end, and volunteering is so important. I've done so much volunteering, and like one of my like the place where I volunteered ended up getting me a job. The other one got me connected with so many like different people, like, and see, having it on your CV, employers like people who network, they like people who have connections and who volunteer. And I think you never know where a connection with someone is going to take you in like 5 or 10 years time. So I think that's probably my most important piece of advice.
That's great. So that was more or less all the questions I had to ask, and we've only got about 5 minutes left of when we planned. So I was just wondering if anyone else had any questions they wanted to ask Vanessa before we sign off.
No, nothing from me. You covered everything there. That was absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much for having me on. Like, those questions were so good, and you thought everything like through really well.
Well, thank you for coming on. Honestly, like you're such an interesting person to talk to.
You really are, and I know that our community are going to benefit so much from all of the value that you have just given there. And I think your mission is so important, and you're providing something that the public systems are lacking. And I think it's incredible that you took what looked initially like a setback, and you took it and turned it into a passion and something that you've wanted to do for so long. And I have just found that in itself so inspiring, and that you found that initiative and the motivation and have built something for yourself that's so incredible. And I know that I'm going to take that away and be inspired by your initiative over the next while, definitely.
You guys are so kind, and I'm like, if anyone ever wanted to contact me, I'm very like responsive on LinkedIn and Instagram. Like, I literally will like reply ASAP. So if anybody like ever wanted to like ask a question, or even like if anyone wanted to be put in contact with people who are on my podcast as well, I would absolutely have no bother in doing that either.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank
That's
you.
so nice hearing about things like that and hearing about as well contacts as well, like networking. Like that's one of the main reasons like sort of founded Corgi. Well, Lord Taylor founded Corgi. Was just sort of even just women in STEM like getting to know each other, and even that's not across STEM because like we've got you on, we've had other people on from across all different sort of career paths and across even different countries, which was amazing to see. So yeah, it's great just getting to know other people and seeing like what different people are like and like how they get along with different things, if you get what I mean.
Absolutely. And I think as well, it's important, like you said about the women in STEM too, and for other women, I think it's important to provide role models for young women as well. I think a lot of people are put back or like set back and put off from applying for jobs because they might think, oh, like there's not enough girls who do that, or if I'm good at doing that. So it's good that you're showcasing all these people and providing people with role models too. I think it's brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, as you said, we will definitely be passing all of this on to our community, and if anybody kind of wants more details or wants more information, we will definitely put them in touch. But it's been amazing, Vanessa, and thank you so much for giving us your time this evening.
Brilliant. Thank you so much as well. I've really enjoyed chatting to you guys.
Anytime. I am always up for a chat.
No, me too.
But have a lovely evening, everybody.
You too, guys. Bye.
Bye.